I am Menards, store of stores. Behold my rebates and despair, ye mighty. Around that colossal parking lot, nothing else remains. All right, well, people seem to like the previous video, and it made already made $100. So I'm like, well, I can completely justify buying the $82 projector now. So yes, we've gone up in price quite a bit. From, well, $48 marked down to $34. So this is technically $48 up to $82. So not quite twice as expensive. But I have a feeling it's probably going to be a pretty significant leap up. I believe this one actually does have, yes, AV inputs. And it's a 480 native screen, which is much, much better than 240. I mean, that would at least make it appropriate for classic gaming. Better save that box for making my thumbnails. It's packaged almost exactly the same. Same remote, of course. Oh, what's this? Oh, okay. This is encouraging. 12 volt, 4 amp power supply. So 48 watts. That's more than twice as bright. Oh, what's this? What's this? There's magic in the air. What's this? Dun, 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 dun. What's this? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, cool. Yeah, this is what I was hoping the other one would have. See? Remember what I was talking about, the RCA jack? So you got left, right, ground, video. This thing actually kind of looks cool. Look at like this. Almost like, oh wait, someone got mad because I said Fresnel lens. That doesn't go nearly as far. So I'm guessing that's coarse adjustment and this is fine adjustment. Oh, look, it's got a stand. I think this one also has a keystone adjustment. That's like if, the projector is not pointing straight at the screen looks trapezoidal. Whoa, 2 HDMI ports, and a USB port, a headphone jack, a SD card slot, and a USB. This is way better. Oh, well, there's an instruction manual, but I'm not going to read that. Yeah, why is everything in plastic bags? Oh, you know why it probably is because this thing sits on the boat from China for what, 3 months or a year nowadays? Wow, $150 Visa gift card. Oh man, what would I do with $150? I could buy more crappy projectors. This is almost like a proper manual. Yeah, VGA is cool. Like you could hook this up to like an old computer. So it looks like the minimum distance is 37 inches up to 110 inches. Oh yeah, and they actually talk about having a rear projection display, so I would assume that you could flip the image. Okay, I'm gonna start right away by hooking this up to a Sega. So this focus throw wheel is a lot harder to use versus the first printer. Also, this lever, this is not fine focus adjust. It's a mechanical keystone adjustment. See the top and the bottom, how they're changing? It would cost us this much in frame buffer, or we could just have a mechanical solution. So it'll be interesting to see how that works inside the unit. Well, that's already an obvious improvement. So we went from 240p to 480p. Do the keystone adjustment. I've never seen a mechanical keystone adjustment. It's usually in software. It's supposed to be plugged in. Do I have to switch to that input? Oh, here we go. I push the source button. Oh, look at all these great sources. VGA, 2 HDMI, USB, SD card. Let's go to AV. And oh, there's oh, I didn't have the 3.5 millimeter jack pushed in all the way. There's your problem. I'm guessing it won't be stereo. No, it just sounds like one speaker. The audio quality isn't actually that bad. Oh, actually, let me, there's actually another light on in this room. Let me turn that off. You know, with a projector, the black level is only as dark as the room is. That's why I think home theater is better than movie theaters, because it's not projected, which means, you know, the black level is just darkness. Well, I guess with an LCD, the black level is however well the LCD can block the light from behind. Of course, with an OLED, that's not the case. But then you get burn in. But yeah, I mean, it's actually, and again, I'm just projecting it against a probably too shiny piece of, what's it called? Whiteboard. It's actually pretty good. I mean, if we look up at the score, note to self, digitally zoom in on score. It looks like there is, I don't know if that's like the letter is supposed to be dripping blood or something. Also, I don't see any, there must be a comb filter on this because I don't see any NTSC dot crawl, which you normally see in a column like that. So Genesis is, well, there's a couple of resolutions they can run at. I think the most common is 320 by 224, which I assume this game is in. So the Genesis is running roughly, you know, 1/2 the pixel density of this display, which means, I mean, you're probably never going to get an exact 1-to-1 conversion, so you're probably going to have some horizontal vertical interpolation. But it looks actually pretty decent. I mean, it doesn't look as good as my Samsung CRT I have in my spare bedroom, my 8-bit room, but it's not bad. Again, for $80. Ah, this must be the secret of the overscan. Look at all those lines at the bottom of the video display. When I push pause and the music stops, those lines go away. So I wonder if that's some sort of like data overrun or data clash between the communication between the VDP and the Z80 audio coprocessor. Okay, it's dark outside because it's 5:30. So now I can do some tests in my living room. So I'm going to project to this wall. Should give us about, I don't know, 80 inches. Of course, there's a cat here. And I'm going to use the Retro USB AVS FPGA-based Nintendo, which is a pretty cool way to play Nintendo. It's got an HDMI output. Let's try it out. As I watch this no signal bounce around, it's a little out of focus when it gets to the bottom. It's probably because I have the projector with a slight angle. Not a big deal, but it does seem a bit shallow as far as the focus goes. Now this is an FPGA emulation, so we can see the pixels pretty clearly on the AVS logo. Let's zoom in a little bit, like an optical zoom in. There's a little interpolation, like right on the edge of the white to the red transition, whereas on the actual hardware, this would just probably be like, you know, 1 white pixel to 1 red pixel. And there's a little vertical interpolation on the top of like the S and the bottom of the S. Ah, that was interesting. You see how the character was... Let me... There's some... Wow, what's with that juddering? Look at that. You see that? Yeah, let me die on purpose. Now I'll be blinking. See how it's missing frames? Because the blinking should be faster than that. Oh, that's interesting. When I change the aspect ratio, it actually does shrink the screen. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, yeah, look how it actually gets wider. Huh, I wonder how it does that. And it's weird, like the herky-jerkiness appears to be near the top of the screen. Look at like the cloud versus the pipes. Why would it do that? Okay, here's a Nintendo Switch in docked mode. It looks alright. I mean, you can definitely see some fuzziness, so, you know, it's obviously sub 720, but it's acceptable. Well, I was hoping to find a horizontal section here, but I guess I don't really need to. Oh, that's pretty bad. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that tearing. Oh, it's still there. All right, look, you do a slow-mo test. This didn't happen in Ghouls and Ghosts, did it? I don't think so. Ugh. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. You can see the screen tearing pretty bad there. Guessing there's, well, if it's downscaling it, there's probably an internal buffer, and it's probably not being updated with the, you know, V-Sync on, so to speak. Oh, here's a deep cut I'm sure some of you will love. PC Engine, Japanese version with the CD-ROM extension and Rondo of Blood. I'm basically having to use systems that have AV input jacks, which means I can't use a Super Nintendo. Scrolling looks smooth here. Again, this is a composite video signal. Huh. Die, monster! You don't belong in this world. I forgot how to play this. Yeah, I didn't notice any screen tearing there. Oh boy, get ready for some fake parallax. Okay, well, I don't notice any screen tearing with this one, so maybe it's just an HDMI issue? That's unfortunate, but it kind of makes this projector the inverse of the $34 one in some ways, whereas this is a nice choice for these composite video games, but yeah, I don't think you'd want to... I mean, yes, a game that doesn't scroll in horizontal directions would be less noticeable with the HDMI, but yeah, something like Metroid Dread obviously looked pretty bad. Oh, I noticed during the Xbox One's 10-minute long boot process that the display put the resolution at the bottom of the screen. It said 720 at 60 hertz. So yeah, the Xbox is probably like, what you got, projector? And the projector's like, oh wait, it just changed. 1080p at 60 hertz. But it's actually 480p. Bud escaped from his kitten jail and now he's thinking, how can I mess up Ben's setup while he's testing this stuff? There's so many cables, I should grab them all. It's actually kind of surprising how legible that text is considering the resolution. Hello and welcome to Digital Foundry. We're going to be testing the Xbox One Series S on the projector. It's got some nice ambient occlusion screen space reflections going on, but the temporal time displacement is looking a little rough around the edges. Yeah, look at that. Oh, now there's a cat. Oh yeah, that's just like the... Yeah, look at that. Can you see that judder? See, I thought it would be less obvious in a first-person game, but you can kind of see it kind of lurches. Oh no! You know, buddy of mine would actually do stuff like this with rental cars. I won't say who he was, though. What is this, 3 different systems now where we see herky-jerkiness on the HDMI? I mean, I guess you could say, oh, you could put it in a movie, but I doubt it would be any different because, you know, it's still like, what if you're watching, oh, I don't know, Bullet or Grand Theft Auto the movie, Free Guy? I mean, I think you'd still see the same kind of stutter because it's about the frame buffer being updated for the video, not really the game engine. That's disappointing. How you like that PC Engine deep cut? That was one of those things where it's like, it's nice not being married. You spent how much to play Rondo of Blood? Anyway, if you thought that cut was deep, how about Jurassic Park CAV Laserdisc from 1993? This will be a 480i composite signal. Let's take a look. So it is definitely taking both the left and right inputs and summing them, although I still think this is just a mono speaker. So it is internally stereo. I guess you just have to listen, you know, you had to hook up headphones to hear it.
The radio's out too. Genera said to stay put.
It's okay.
I didn't ask, why wouldn't they be?
Kids get scared.
That's be scared. I said, though, I got no power.
This video looks fairly washed out, but that's probably the Laserdisc more so than the projector itself. Oh, it's the Spitosaurus. See, with the CAV Laserdisc, you can pause it, and you can do you can step through it, and then you can do multi-speed. Because CAV is constant angular velocity, which basically means 1 frame per revolution of the disc, which is also why there's fewer frames per disc. It's like half the length of a CLV, which is constant linear velocity. Oh, and also this projector would technically be interlacing or de-interlacing the signal, so that's good. Yeah, there is a fast horizontal movement. I didn't see any juddering at all. You know, it's weird. You'd think they would be more... You'd think there'd be a bigger issue with translating the analog video into a digital LCD than vice versa.
But I would say, like, for, yeah, classic gaming on real consoles, this would be a really good solution. Again, the colors are washed out here, but as you saw, the video games look fine. They're like, yes, we know, shut up! Okay, this is me watching one of my old movies. This is MP4 format, playing off the SD card, and seems to be running just fine. Again, I'm not noticing any, screen tearing. I guess that's just with the HDMI input. Okay, there's a VGA input, but I was racking my brains. What do I have that still outputs VGA? Only thing I could think of was my Tektronix MDL 3104 scope. Put oscilloscope plots onto the wall of your living room, the dream of mankind since the dawn of the internet. Much like the other analog inputs, yeah, everything seems to be running smoothly. I am simulating a scrolling video game by touching my finger. Yeah, I don't see any juddering as the waves go across the screen. So using this thing for analog seems like a win. Using it for HDMI seems like a lose. Again, the text, there is some interpolation. You see it more vertically than horizontally, but it's all quite readable. It's not bad. No doubt people would think this is normally how my house would look. Ah, man, the HDMI performance is really disappointing, but the main thing I complained about with that first projector was the lack of AV in, and this one solves the problem. So I guess the yin and the yang. Yep, sure enough, I missed a screw. But yeah, they've got like this decorative piece here, which tabs into the lid. That's kind of cool. Whoa! Heat pipes! Look at that! Bobby win! Okay. Got a separate single-sided circuit board there for the buttons. That's pretty cool. Bluetooth antenna. Probably a separate chip to actually drive the Bluetooth. Some sort of unpopulated header. Probably a MOSFET. Well, here, let's zoom in. What am I doing? I haven't even cracked my beer. What's wrong with me? Well, this one's a couple years older, 2019. That looks like the LVDS chip we saw in the other unit. And that's actually the same logo I remember from the main system on a chip. Yeah, so I'm guessing this is your backlight, power conditioning, MOSFET, protection diodes. Oh, another speaker connector. So yeah, I wonder if they were going to have stereo speakers on this. A much larger size speaker on this one. It's actually got a good sized magnet on it. I mean, the trapezoidal adjustment is very, very clever. This ring is kind of clunky to use. I mean, it'd be easier if you just grab the outside of it. Oh yeah, speaker L and R. I'd be curious to see if you hooked up a separate speaker if you'd actually get stereo. It probably would. Curious to see how much larger the LED is. A heat pipe. That's pretty cool for $80 device. $82. Well, again, that's the save big money. You save big money when you shop Menards price. This at some other outlet, they might be charging like $125 for a device like this. Now, if you're doing home remodeling, the song changes. Spend all your money, you spend all your money, spend all your money at Menards. Oh, this is kind of in there pretty good. Yeah, because they've got two different entry points. They got the VGA and all this stuff on the side. Oh, there we go. Whoa! Look at the wires going to the LED. That's fairly significant. They got like a nice Molex plug and everything with a retention clasp on it. Look, another HDMI input. So yeah, it's got two HDMI ports. Maybe the one I was using was bad. Maybe the other one works better. I kind of doubt it. I can test it, but yeah. So this is a lot more solid. And the weight isn't just in the heatsink, which is going to be over here, but it feels fairly consistent. I'm thinking this is going to be a lot nicer on the inside. They've already got like two stages of opening here. There's a top lid, which I'm unscrewing now. So I'm unscrewing the top lid from the bottom half of it. So yeah, because the other one was just a case and then there was like one piece of plastic that held everything in. So this should have its own separate sub enclosure. Whoa, the LCD is coming up with the top half. It's a much, much larger LCD, and it's also widescreen format.
Look how cool that is. The Fresnel lens trapezoidal adjustment. That is so clever. That is great. You've got a little mechanical rocker arm there. Just flap it in the breeze. Yeah, I mean, this one's actually widescreen for one thing. That's another advantage. Yeah, heat pipes pulling the heat away. And then if you notice, there's a blower fan here. See that? So it's bringing the air in and blowing it out that way. So you have a much more direct blowing of air across the heatsink. So that's an improvement as well. The candle that burns twice as bright burns out faster or something. Yeah, okay. The LED is easily twice the size as the $48 one, which would make sense because we're going, what was it, 1.5 amps up to 4 amps? Yeah, I like this blower fan. That's a good idea. Like, I mean, this is, to use a Dave Jones term, this one's a lot less jelly bean than the other one. You know, they actually like, oh, instead of like just slapping a flat fan against something, they're actually saying, okay, well, in this one, the air would come in from here, from the inside. Is a bit questionable because you probably wouldn't want to be moving air and particulates past the LCD, but still, I like how there's a nice direct path for the exhalation. And that was something else I noticed when I was testing this in my living room, was that unlike the first fan, the first unit, there was a very obvious area where all the hot air was coming out of, although it wasn't really that hot. So if you see, this is all on a sub-assembly. See this carriage here, which is screwed to the bottom? Oh, you know what it probably was? Like, they designed it on the board and then like, we can't fit another speaker in here. Pretty much any decent projector has a, well, they don't call it a trapezoid. They call it keystoning. They always have a keystone adjustment. So are they doing this like with a little servo motor or something? Or are they doing it in software? Oh, maybe they thought about doing it in software with this and they're like, we can barely get the HDMI to work. We'd better think of a better way. Oh, they've got bits of foam over the air ingress. So they are actually thinking about dust coming into the unit, being sucked through here, because that's the input of the blower. So they are taking dust into account. Oh, I noticed some people in the comments were talking about putting another screen in. See, this one would be a better candidate because the screen is actually pretty decent size. I mean, you could, I don't know, like put a PlayStation Portable in there or something. The other projector had this as well, like a great big glob of greasy, grimy gopher guts just sitting in the box. Oh, I think it did. Well, here it's still in my recycling bin. Yeah. What the heck? Oh, if I gotta find a good place to grab where I won't get my human grease on it. I am the greasy strangler. Hey, you know what this makes me think of? Well, it makes me think of a couple things. The allegory of the cave. It also makes me think of this weird phenomenon called camera obscura. Should look it up. Camera and obscura, like the Latin version of obscure. You could have like a Pac-Man projector, like you run it vertical, right? Yeah, because this is like its own module. Oh, it was probably assembled in a different location because, yeah, the screws were offset. Yeah, see how there's these screws mount this to this? Yeah, that's probably why they did it that way. That's weird. The ground is running through something on the back of the heatsink. I wonder, that might be a thermal fuse, possibly? Well, this is quite illuminating. It just says right there, 3.97 inch, 480p. All the air would have to come through these slits here. I mean, I guess there would be a vacuum effect. This is actually a self-contained unit, unlike how leaky that first projector was. See, this ring doesn't even want to stay in place, so probably what's happening is the top portion of the case is holding it here, which is causing excessive amounts of friction. This unpopulated 3-pin header, it's a separate IR sensor. IR number 2, I wonder if we could populate that. I'm sure I have some of those. That'd be handy if you could hit the remote from the front or the back. On today's episode of Pimp My Projector. His amazing clothing took the biscuit. Quite the smoothest person in the district. Oh no, it's being blocked by this plastic. Whatever will we do? There, I cut a window for the front IR. Maybe it'll work, who knows? Oh, that's also a bit jank. Can't put the lens cap on if it's fully retracted. See, we kind of hit the edge of this lip. It's nice that they give you that grabber lip, but then it kind of restricts you. Well, it gets you pretty much all the way there. Yeah, with the case in place, it actually stops you from unscrewing it any further because you actually can unscrew it and have it come out, I discovered. So the HDMI appears to be a joke, but the VGA and the composite video in work a treat. So 800 divided by 480 is 1.66, so it's not quite as wide as it needs to be modern widescreen, but it's in the ballpark. Oh, the front IR that I added did work, so that's cool. Oh, I do have this one computer that has VGA out. I've got it hooked up to my Wacom, and then I'm going to use it for pinball development. Anyway, I hooked the projector up to that computer, and then I made the screen vertical. And look, you could use it for coding, or you could project the outputs of a terminal window on the wall. So I guess that could be kind of cool. Do you enjoy programming in bed, but you're tired of giant heavy monitors falling down from the ceiling and crushing you in your sleep? Well, we have the solution! You may notice that this projector is still in one piece. That's because I would actually want to keep it. Well, I guess it is mine, so I will keep it. Aside from the abysmal HDMI performance, when it comes to analog signals, such as composite video and VGA, it actually does a pretty good job, which I think is appropriate for a projector with this limited of resolution. Yeah, I saw a lot of comments in the previous video talking about that. And yeah, I mean, a projector like this, or even like the $34 one, that's something that's a really good use for it. Just like, you don't want necessarily like good quality, but hey, maybe you can project some ghosts or scary images or patterns, and for that, it's pretty useful. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that video, and actually we've got another video coming up in one more day, actually, right away. It's going to be a new 3D printer review video, so as I promised, December we'll actually have some videos, so have a happy and safe holiday, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh look, an industrial Laserdisc player with external RS-232 computer control. You can seek whatever frames you like, just like Dragon's Lair. Oh, what's this? The CAV edition of Jurassic Park on Laserdisc. Also, Midwest Gaming Classic 2022 is coming up in about 5 months. Gee, I wonder what kind of project I might be working on.